mind in the dantian. So it's the center of gravity. A gathering, everything is being pulled towards this point. Let's try the normal breathing. Breathing out as you pull the belly right in, and then breathing in as you push the belly out. The dantian is just in front of the Mingmen. The Mingmen is between L4 and L5. I want to be aware of the part of the spine beneath the Mingmen. So as I pull my belly in, I want my bottom of my spine to be drawn down into the legs. And then just settling in riding horse. Feel the skeleton. So the spine settled on the sacrum. The sacrum distributes the weight of my upper body down into the two legs. The sacrum is a point of bifurcation. So relaxing the sacrum is a matter of allowing the body to split here. And you get that, the knees will drive out, you'll go into the outside edges of the feet, and the feet will really spread on the ground. So the dantian the thing in the body it's most connected to in a way, or it most corresponds to, is it's where the blood coming down from the heart through the aorta splits into the two legs. So that is just in front of L4. So the artery that takes the blood down is there, but also the veins that come up and join into the main vein that comes up into the heart is just behind the artery. So this point, it's a place of splitting of the skeleton, but it's also a place of splitting of the flow in the body. So this feeling that something is being pumped down, and this is the point where it branches. And of course, flow is energy. So blood and chi, they're very related. So the dantian, center of gravity of the body, also the place where the one splits into the two, or the two combine into the one. And it's also it also contains memory of our umbilical connection to the mother. So one of the first strange concepts that John introduced us to in the short form was this idea of going back to the womb, back to a time of innocence before there was any artifice, before we had learned to keep the world away by observing it and thinking about it. So we stimulate that aspect of the dantian with the reverse breathing. So let's try a little bit of that now. So pulling the belly in on the in-breath, as though you're drawing nutrients down this umbilical cord. So I breathe in as I draw my belly in, and then I breathe out. So we're drawing something into the belly down the umbilical cord, but also up from the ground through the legs. We're breathing from the mother, the actual mother, and Mother Earth. Breathing in. So as you breathe in, the two legs are drawing up, becoming the one. And then as you breathe out, it splits into the two legs again. So you can consider the veins and the arteries as well. This is the flow up the legs into the dantian. This is the flow down the legs from the dantian. Feel the legs part of the spine. They're just as much part of the spine as the head is. If I let the head come too far forwards here, then I'll lose my legs and my bum will stick out. So I have to be careful. And then one more. Breathing in. And breathing out. And now allowing the two sides of the body to breathe alternately. So let's simply try reaching out and pulling in. It's the basic action of any animal, really. It has to take a risk and reach out to find food or a mate so that it can survive. feel what I call the emotion. I want to feel something that forces this arm to go out and then forces it to come back in. For the arm to go out, something inside me has to become brave and optimistic. And the same thing, but up and down. And just feel the same thing happening in the legs. So as my arm reaches up and extends, my leg is similarly extending down. And then they both pull towards each other. Stretching, lengthening, extending, and contracting, shrinking. And then the same thing really, but the one where we turn right to the side. Feel the arm now that's going behind you. It's the same arm that was reaching out to pull or reaching up to pull, but now it's dipping into the space behind my body. Both arms are extending now, so both legs are also extending. And that's making me really turn. And then riding horse. Keep to a yielding mind. Think of a little house mouse. So it has to venture out of its hole, normally at night, to find food, but it's always ready to scurry back to safety. So no matter how inquisitive it gets and how interested and how busy it gets with its feeding and its exploration, the slightest sound and phew, it's back in its hole. So here you're like the mouse peeping out of its hole, wondering whether it's safe to venture out. So yielding mind was something that creatures have to have just to survive. We have made an environment where we don't really need it. And now just moving from leg to leg, exactly the same way that we use the arms. So my leg reaches and pulls, reaches and pulls. And in the same way that when we reached, either reaching forward or reaching up, we turned away from the hand in order to allow it more extension. It's the same with the legs. If I want to extend this leg, I turn away from it. And then when I pull with it, I turn towards it. In the same way that when we reached out, the arm became straight. And then when I pulled in, the arm basically became walled off. And if I continue it, it pulls right into the body. Same as the leg. Leg becomes straight. And then effectively it rounds. It becomes walled off as it draws me around, allowing the other one to straighten. When I bend the leg, I'm sucking the ground towards me, towards my dantian. With the leg as an elephant's trunk that's extending to dip in the water and then sucks to pull the water up. Back to riding horse. Feel the Ming Men in particular. So yielding will push the Min Meng backwards, and attacking will pull it forwards. So I don't want to be so outward that I can't draw my Ming Men back. So most people have very little flexibility in their lumbar spine. So they have a constant lordosis. And basically it just means they can't yield. They can't draw their energy in and their mind down to the dantian. They're always coming up and out. Coming up and out wouldn't be so bad if we also went down the legs and into the earth, then there would be a balance, and then it would be easier to draw the belly in. It's really important just to keep that connection to the earth through the legs. Let's just try a bit of the heaven and earth one. Just going down and bringing some of the earth up through the dantian into the heart, and then let it branch out at the heart and reach up, pull down. Feel that bifurcation of the artery of the aorta as you reach down the legs. And then here it comes up the veins, up back into the heart. And then the heart branches out into the arms. And then the blood comes back into the heart, down the aorta, and down the legs. And remember, if you want to connect with the two, don't let them be completely in phase. So just let one leg go and then the other. And then it's much easier to feel. And they become the one, and then one arm goes out, the other arm goes out. So you're effectively wriggling all the time to keep these two channels a little bit separate so they don't clog and stick to each other too much. And if you keep that wriggling, then you'll find it's easier to get low. And it's easier to get high as well. and then just back. So we're like a little pipe cleaner man. Remember those we used to make when we were kids? Like two pipe cleans, you just wind them round each other in the middle to make a torso. And you've got two legs and two arms twisted. So spine is very much that. It's very much a twine of the two sides of your body. Let's just make this shape on the sacrum. So just feeling the sacrum. You can let your thumbs come up a bit, so it's more like a diamond. So the thumbs are sort of on the Ming Men, and the tips of the fingers are trying to project down to your tail. So the two sides of the sacrum, which are the two hands, I just really want to relax those places. And that's really difficult because something inside you just has to let go. And what you're letting go of is holding back from engaging with the world. We don't realize we're doing it, but that's what we learn to do when we're little. You know, babies, newborns, it's so obvious they're of a different reality, the way they look at things without focusing, and they're just scanning, and their movements. But that's what we're trying to get back to, that at least. So a sense that you're so awake, you're almost tumbling out of yourself. Your consciousness is right at your very edge. And you can practice it when like you're out for a walk in the park or in nature, and just feel just so awake that you're not looking at things, you're not focusing on things, because as soon as you focus on something, you sort of push it away, you force it to come together in a way that suits you, and it gets driven away. If you're just there, then you're just surrounded with color, like an impressionist painting. You just got these dabs of color everywhere that if you stand back far enough, you can see that it's a representation of something. But what they were seeing was just color. It was just life and color, and they were just dabbing it onto the canvas. And then just bring the hands in front. Same thing, but now I'm feeling that artery, the aorta, the abdominal aorta. So the aorta comes up, as you remember, up from the heart. And from there, it sort of branches down into the arms, and then it drops down. And here is where it splits down the legs. So it's a letting go that allows the one to become two, and so on. It acknowledges the myriad creatures. And now let's bring the feet up and just try some of this one. Toes never come off the ground, but I'm moving slowly. My weight is sort of staying in the middle, so both feet always have some weight in them. I'm driving my heel up, but then I'm really controlling the down as I drive the other heel up. And I want to feel both sides. So as one side, the heel comes up and this reaches out and I become sort of sparkly and interested. There's another part of me that's sinking down and cutting underneath. This is what I want to feel, is the heel that's going down, not just going down onto the earth, but going down and uprooting the other heel. So as this heel goes down, if I can control it and make it go slowly enough, then as it hits the ground, it oozes in and comes underneath this heel. It's very controlled and very deliberate. It's like the opposite of walking. So when we walk, everything's just happening naturally. We get into a flow. But here I want to feel my sinking, not just going down, but cutting under, like cutting vegetable energy when we used to uproot people. Your hand pushes down, and then as your elbow follows it and drops, the hand starts coming up, and it's that brings the person off the ground. So you're pushing up, but you're also driving underneath with your elbow. It's the feeling here. My heel is getting underneath, and this hand is coming up. Just trying to become aware of what's going on in the lower body that complements what's going on in the upper body. So all of this, it's only really possible when we have flexibility in the lumbar spine. So the lumbar spine needs to be able to go from lordosis to like a negative lordosis. And then you have to be able to have both at the same time, because you've got one in one side of the body and one in the other. So this whole area has to become really sort of flexible and rubbery and alive. It's not just going backwards and forwards like this and side to side like this. They're twining around each other. And it just becomes the figure of 8 exercise. So we have a figure of 8 now in the arms effectively, but also within the foot. So as the heel goes down, I'm going around it. And then as the heel comes up, I'm going around my toes. And all it is really is, when we first started doing the figures of 8, and John used to say, you have to give the bottom of the figure of 8 as much weight as the top, because everyone was doing this, flicking their hand round at the bottom. And so we need to get right underneath, because it's the bottom of the figure of 8 in the sense that's more important, because that gets into your root, taps from the earth. Yeah, that's good. So just feel how strong the feet have to be and what a great exercise this is. So if I want to be aware, if I want to be spirited, then my body has to be strong, not in the sort of weight training way, but in this sort of rubbery, twisty way. So again, this sense that everything that I'm doing it against an elastic resistance. There's like a sheet of elastic or rubber that's trying to prevent my movement. So I'm stretching against something all the time. You just feel it's always pulling back into the dantian. It comes out, but then it comes back again. And like the boomerang, it can fly out, but it's always going to return. This is what John loved about the figure of 8, the returning spiral. Whee. Okay. And now let's just try lifting the foot, but by getting this feeling that I'm sinking down the outside edge and cutting under in order to uproot the foot that's going to come up. So I'm going down here, and that enables this foot to come up without me having to pluck it or yank it from the ground. And then I put this foot down and slowly I let the heel go down and it cuts under. And then this foot can come up. I've created a circuit that goes down the weighted leg and comes up the leg that's coming off the ground. So down. Feel the dantian as center of gravity. It's pulling everything into it. That keeps the lower spine always tending to this negative lordosis. So I'm reaching down and it comes up. Put the toes down first and then really slowly with the heel going down. That just gives you time really to make the image in your mind and in the energy. The heel goes down too quickly. It's just like it becomes too physical. It doesn't have enough energy in it. Just feel it. So half of me is going down in order to become secure and safe, and another half of me is coming off the ground in order to step forwards or whatever, or kick. It's very much like the mouse poised at the entrance of its little hole, ready to scamper out or scurry back to safety. And feel the spirit, the sort of aliveness, almost an excitement. No words in the head. Just pure awareness. And now let's just go down into the squat. But again, using the legs to pull yourself down. I'm pulling myself down into this squat. I'm not just sinking into the squat. Now you can really feel the sacrum spreading. Well, my back, especially my lower back, is expanding and widening, and my front is shrinking and pulling in. That's basically yielding. Yielding is really attacking from the back and drawing in the front, and attack is attacking from the front and drawing in the back. So we tend to have lost the ability to bring energy from our back. Tai Chi is all about that. In a nutshell, Tai Chi is simply learning to extend from your back, from your spine. And ward off is simply bringing that energy from your back around to the front so that you can use it. Feel the emotion associated with yielding. So the body and mind in Dan Chen, it's like a safe harbor. So rather than having to scurry back and hide behind your fears, there's a really safe place that's very natural and has been there since before you came out of the womb. So when I teach in the park, I normally get there early and just sit on a bench waiting for the students to arrive. And I just watch the world go by. So watching people wander by just always strikes me just how amazing human beings are. Their eyes are like a portal, and what's coming out of their eyes and coming into their eyes is of a completely different order to the world they're moving through and to the world of their own body. So this sense that consciousness is very special, it's very sort of unworldly, extraterrestrial. So what we would like is to be able to move through the world with that sort of consciousness emanating from our spine, from our back, rather than simply coming out of our eyes. So we don't have to see something in order to respond to it. We feel it with these really fine-tuned senses that require no processing, that just you just get an instant response, you just come back inside or just go for the kill. It's much easier to feel the Dan Chen in this posture. Like everything is getting drawn into it. You're shrinking, you're becoming all Dan Chen. And feel the lower back. Difficult because the part of the spine just above it is really easy to feel. So to get my mind into the lumbar spine, how must I make myself feel? I have to go deep. So there was a time when there were no chairs. And so we'd be in this squat quite a lot. would probably be like this to eat, certainly to shit. And to do things, you know, you'd be cutting up the vegetables, squatting down in front of your chopping board. So yielding mind would have been much more available. It would have been the dominant mind. Okay, let's come back up, if it's possible. Back to riding bronze. Just feel the Ming Men. It's easy to feel the Ming Men because you know exactly where it is. Part of my spine beneath the Min Meng to just go down into the legs. I don't want to be broken like this with my bum sticking back. The Ming Men pushes back so that the lower back can slip underneath it. And again, that's the same thing as the cutting vegetable, the uprooting by sinking. It's really my spine that's sinking down my leg in order to get underneath the other foot. So these American enlightened masters, you know, they love having their photograph taken with these sparkly eyes and these big smiles. But I think in a sense, okay, they may be enlightened, but they still don't have yielding mind. There's a wonderful film about this American kid, just goes to China to try and find masters that he can study with. And towards the end of the movie, the people he's made contact with, they take him to see a member of their community who's very close to enlightenment. This is how they talk about him. And they go, and he's there, but he's not there. The camera's sort of trying to focus on him, and there's this sense that he's just shrinking away all the time. He doesn't say anything, and he's just sort of moving around, just sort of doing things, and always sort of slipping his back to the camera. And it's just really interesting. So that's sort of yielding mind. You know, you're veiling yourself, but at any moment you could spring out, but it would only be for an instant, and then you'd be back in again. This is why this posture is just so important. Is pure yielding mind. Keep to a yielding mind. Modest, humble, of the earth. You've got no need to come out and promote yourself by telling the world what you've experienced. You don't understand it yourself, so the words will never really do it justice. Because all they'll do is create a good image for you, or bad, whatever. but they'll always be far, far, far from the truth. And now let's just bring it back up. And again, just slipping into this. There's always a sense that this is there in the background all the time, ready to operate. So I have to have this negative lordosis. It's not really, it just feels like it is in my lumbar spine. Otherwise, this will be bringing me up and tipping me forwards all the time. Wanted to do the opposite. It's taking me down and slipping me under. I have a student, she's 85 now. She's great. She's really short and round. She's not fat, but she just looks round, you know. And so she just turns so naturally. But she had like a balance problem, you know, getting old. And it's really improved lately. And she puts it all down to this exercise. Because she does it like, you know, when she's doing the washing up or the cooking, she's exercising like this. And then just let it go back to sleep. Until it's just a dream. Right. Yeah, so let's just try that again, because I did it wrong. So if I want my hands to come up, I want my hands to do anything, then effectively my feet have to be doing something very similar. So for my hands to come up, I have to be working the ground with my feet. Something has to be going down into the ground. Otherwise, I'll sort of lose my balance. I'll come up and tip forwards a little bit. And then again here, as my hands come down, there's a sense that something is retracting out of the ground and sort of becoming normal, heaven forbid.